Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We are at the Aosta Valley Airport in Italy. In fact, the most northern part of Italy. And we are nestled about halfway between Geneva and Milan. And as you can see, it's an airport surrounded by lush green, snow white capped mountains. It has an ILS system on runway 27. And it's an airport that I hope to be doing more flights both in and out as well. So you can see our TBM 930, which is waiting for us on ramp 1. So let's just get inside the cockpit and power it up. So welcome once again to the cockpit of the TBM 930. And just before we put power to the aircraft, we want to make sure that the parking brake is set. So we'll just have a look at that, and it is. Okay, so now looking to the overhead panel, we'll just take a look and work from left to right to make sure that all the switches are in their correct positions. Interior lights, electronic power, the crash bar is down, and the starter ignition, auxiliary boost pump and fuel selector switches and autopilot trims are all in their correct positions. Excellent. And so now we can actually go ahead and just put power to the aircraft. So let's do that. Raise the crash bar and select the battery to on. And there we have the Garmin's initializing. Doesn't actually take long to do that. And as usual, the middle one is lazy, so we'll just switch that on by operating this button here on the right. And it's just going through its TORS system check right now, so it should give us the confirmation any minute.
TORS system test, okay.
Good. Okay, so we've got that working, and the system is all set and up and running for us. Okay, so now what will we do first? Well, we'll have a look at this button here. So we'll work from top to bottom. Now this is your level button, and you may be familiar with this already in the Boeings and the Airbus aircrafts, in that this will actually level out the aircraft. So if you flew into IMC conditions or IFR conditions and you become a bit disoriented, then you press this button and it will automatically turn on the autopilot and level out the aircraft until such time as you re-enter VFR conditions. Okay, so now just having a look at these buttons, pretty standard buttons really. The barometric pressure button, there you can adjust it there, and you can also press to reset it to the current baro pressure. And looking at the left here, we have a master caution warning button, which will cancel several warning messages. And also having a look at the alternate HSI and the alternate speed tape, baro reference, and the alternate altimeter tape as well. So we can adjust that by using this button here. Okay, so now just moving along to these buttons on the top. Now they correspond to this part here, which is your FMA or your flight mode annunciator. And whatever you do here is going to appear there in some form of abbreviation. So, for example, heading button, you have the HDG and approach, and it will give you your VOR and GS glide slope, as well as your nav mode and flight director. This transfer button should transfer control inputs from left to right, but it's non-functional, so we'll just leave that as it is. Alt button there, that will set your alt. Actually, if you are flying whatever is the altitude at that time, when you press this, it will actually sync to that altitude. Okay, and there's your adjustment there as well. VS, vertical speed, that puts your vertical speed tape up on the right hand side, and you can adjust that, okay, up or down. And there's your vertical speed bug there moving accordingly. Okay, so moving along, you have a flight level control adjustments, and that also works in harmony with the speed as well, so we can adjust that, and you can see a speed bug there moving up and down. So right, and also speed here, as it says there on the tooltip, switch to knots units. VNav button here as well, and you have your damper, and it reflects that in the FMA as well as your autopilot there, and you have a bank button here which actually does work and prevents an overbanking situation. Okay, so with the heading button, just jumping over the course button for a minute, if you have a look here, you have the heading, and you have the current heading as well, 351 degrees. Now if you turn the heading button there, you will see that the readout changes as well as the heading bug. But if you press the button on top, you'll see it says push sync. So we'll push that and it syncs it to the current heading. Okay, so that's pretty handy if you are flying and the heading bug is down here and you need to obviously set the heading prior to setting the autopilot. Then you would actually use that button for a quick heading set. Alright, now moving on over to the course button. So you see here that we have a look down at the touch screen here, we're already on Nav 1, which is for VOR 1 as well. And so what that does, just like in any standard analog aircraft, it just turns the course needle. Alright, and to set that up, you can see how the Nav 1 is set to 112.15. So to actually set that, let's say for example we want to set it to this VOR here, Sierra Charlie Sierra. So what we do, we'll press the main flight display button. Okay, if we don't know the number for this one, we can actually go to the nearest and select VOR and select frequency. And now we have the option of actually where do you want to put this frequency. So you can put it into Nav 2, the active frequency, or Nav 2 standby, and Nav 1 active, and Nav 1 standby. Okay, so we'll choose Nav 1 standby, and then we'll go back here. Okay, and if you go to Navcon, audio and radios button, and there you can see the figure that we've actually just entered here, which is 109.25. Now, how do we change that from there to there? Well, quite simply, we press and hold the frequency swap button, and there it goes up. Alright, so okay, so I thought there's actually maybe a quicker way to do that. Okay, so that is how you do it. If you want to actually select Nav 2, you just click on Nav 2 here, and it's highlighted for you, and you can actually then change that frequency manually. Okay, so right, so that is and if we go back to the course button and we change that, and you can see that the middle bar on the course needle is moving right across, and as you know, that's how we actually fly to a VOR, which is pointing in that direction towards SCS. Okay, so that is how you would actually enter frequencies into Nav 1 and Nav 2. Okay, so right, now just having a look at this readout. Now, as I said, it could be it looks quite daunting, but it really isn't. So just working our way through, we have a COM1 frequency, which is, go back to your COM button, you can see 124.85 and 124.85 there. Okay, and moving back to the PFD, you'll see here your speed tape. Okay, and you'll see a small map. Okay, now you can actually adjust that map range with these buttons and get it closer or further, shall we say, and you can zoom in as well. Alright, and you also have an angle of attack readout. Okay, now that you can actually switch on and off as well. So we'll just have a look at that. So if we go to the primary flight display again, and if we have a look at Pfd Settings, and you have a look at this part here, it says AOA on. So at the moment it's on, and then you can actually turn it off or turn it to auto. Okay, so it's off and auto. All right, and if we press that and we press it on, then it keeps it on. Okay, so that's the angle of attack. I haven't actually seen this change really, or maybe I haven't been paying that much attention to it. All right, but at least that's something that works. You have your true airspeed and your ground speed, your outside air temperature, and your international standard as well at 11 degrees. Okay, and just moving along the bottom row of buttons, some of these buttons actually duplicate what is actually on this panel here. All right, so PFD map settings doesn't do anything, neither does traffic inset. PFD settings, that will actually change to attitude overlays. That does nothing. Pfd mode, these are blank. Bearing 1 and 2, now they correspond with the bearing 1 and 2 here. So if you change that, now we've gone straight to nav 1, and that actually puts SCS VOR in nav the nav 1 section here. All right, and you can put the same there as well. So basically it's just an extra place to store your frequency. You have nav2, GPS, and also your ADF automatic direction finder as well, and the same there with the other side, and the same there with this side here on the right hand side. Okay, so just moving along this bottom row, we have other PFD settings. Okay, so once again we have, let's start from here, wind. Okay, now this actually is duplicated on the touch screen here. So if we go to PFD settings, we see wind there. Now it says off there, it also says off there. All right, and what you can do, if you click that button, you can select option 1, and if you notice on the display, it actually has the wind detailed for us. So you have 2 arrows reflecting the direction of the wind and speed. You have option 2, which graphically displays the direction of the wind and the speed as well, and you have option 3. Now this is my favorite one because it has the most information you could have on this screen, and you have off as well. Okay, so you can select that from either there or on this screen here. Okay, and if you go back, it just brings you back to the previous screens there. This COM1 121.5, I don't know how to change that. I don't think you can change, to be honest with you. I haven't seen that function at all. Okay, so just going back, You have active nav VOR1, VOR2, which if I go back to the main one, it now duplicates this button here. As you can see that change in there. Alright, the OBS button doesn't seem to function. Neither the sensors or weather radar controls. Okay, so we have let's have a look. What else have we got to look on this? Right, so let's go back to the speed tape. Alright, now if you go to speed bugs to click the primary flight display, back to speed bugs, and here you will see the speed bugs page. Alright, now obviously before your flight you want to set your speed bugs up, so you select all on. Okay, now what this does, that actually puts speed bugs at these points on the speed tape. Alright, so that would be up here. As you perform your takeoff roll, these speed bugs will appear. Alright, now for the sake of the video, we'll actually change these. So let's make 90 knots our VR into say 30. Alright, and we click enter, and there you can see it's put our VR, our rotation speed bug, there at the number we selected. Okay, let's go down to VX. Okay, so let's make this say 35. Okay, and there it appears. We go down to VY, base rate of climb, make that 40, enter, and there it appears also. And V approach, make that 50, and select enter. Nope, we can't see it. Let's make that 45. Maybe that was too much. Let's make it 45. Whoops, so we got to turn it on. There you are. Right, so and you can see all of the landing reference speeds and takeoff speeds as well. Okay, so we can press this button here to restore it to defaults. Okay, so moving back now, we have timers. Now timing the timer is crucial to the starting up of this aircraft, and I'm going to make a separate engine start and engine shutdown tutorial for the TBM 930. But suffice it is to say for now that this is needed for startup, and the timer is reflected not just here on the touchscreen but also in the main Pfd panel as well. So if we press start, you can see that we've got the timer running both there, and we can also select down as well, and you can see the timer counting down. Alright, so that is quite simply your timer section. Alright, so moving that back, let's go to minimums. Alright, so now the minimums will appear on your altimeter tape right here. Okay, so where are we at now? 1790. Let's put a minimum of say 100. Okay, and we've got to turn the minimums on first of all, and you can have it either at baro or radial altimeter. So this is your radial altimeter here on the main primary flight display, and so you can either have it set into your baro pressure or your RA altitude. Okay, so let's select 100. Okay, and see what happens. Right, so we can't see anything there. Right, let's set it to radial altitude, There we are. So we can see this little funny arrow. Oops, sorry, let's get this right. So there we are. You see this arrow indicator, which indicates your minimums that you've actually selected. Okay, so just moving that back, and if we change the minimums, let's say 50, and that goes down. Okay, so that's your minimums setting. Okay, and it actually tells you here actually 50 on this. Okay, so we've worked through all this. There is really nothing else to show you on this really. It's got channel spacing here, which is 8.33, and you have an option of selecting 2.5. Why that would be changed, I don't know. I've just always kept it here. Okay, so let's go to home and let's move on to the main flight display. Okay, so now we've got map settings here. That button does not do anything at the moment. Alright, so we'll move on to weather and click on weather again, and then we'll click on weather radar horizontal, and this is what we get. Alright, so and if we go to the range button here, you put the mouse next to it on the side, and there you can actually change the range. Okay, you can see the range down here, 100 nautical miles, and so on and so forth. You can change it to weather radar vertical, and once again you can adjust the range on that as well. Okay, it does. There's no gain button like you would see in other aircraft, so you can actually adjust just how it's in what area it's pointing, whether it's pointing down or up. So it really is basic, and don't forget this is just stock aircraft on MSFS 2020. So we're probably pretty fortunate to have this, but it does work. You do actually see some precipitation visualizations on this screen here as well. Okay, so just going back and then going back to our map setting, and you click on map. If there's any weather blocks on here, you just click the map settings to get rid of it. Okay, so what have we got now? We got a direct to button. Well, that speaks for itself really. Okay, I think maybe what we can do at this stage is to maybe have a look at a brief flight plan. All right, so here we are at SCS. So let's just Ulster Valley Airport. Now, what you can do with this actually, while we're here, if you press on top of the range button, this happens. You have a map pointer control, and or mouse pad if you like. And what you can do, if you actually put the mouse on that, it scrolls around. Okay, you have to keep the mouse within this white perimeter box. That's pretty handy, isn't it? That's pretty neat, having a mouse pad on your TBM 930. Okay, so and then we can scroll out and scroll in on the map as well using the same range button. Okay, so what we're going to do, right, is just create a simple flight plan. Okay, now you can actually create one, as you know, inside the inbuilt MSFS flight planner. Okay, on the screen, you know, prior to getting to the actual sim here. And when you do create one there in the flight planner, it does take a few seconds to load up in here, so be aware of that. It looks as if nothing's happening, but it will load in just a few seconds. Okay, or you can actually click and make your flight plan here. Alright, so just going back to the main flight display and going to nearest, and then you can select airport. Okay, now list of airports come up. Right, so we can actually select the airport that we're at, and it does say actually insert in flight plan. Now this actually won't put it as our origin airport, so we'll go back to the main flight display, flight plan, add origin from there, and we'll type in Lima India Mike Whiskey and select enter. Okay, now we have got our origin airport, and we can also add our destination. So let's make it LINS, Lima India November Sierra Airport. So Lima India November Sierra, and add enter. Okay, so now we have a simple flight plan. All right, you can see there reflected in the screen there. Okay, so get a better view of that. Right. Oh, that seems to be okay. Right, so now what we want to do is add SCS, Ulster, and Tercy. So let's try and add SCS. So add en route waypoint, Sierra Charlie Sierra, and enter, and that enters the first waypoint. Okay, if you want to, we can go to the nearest one, int, and there you can see the next fix is, or the closest one is Ulster. Insert in flight plan. Okay, so where is it going to add it? So we have here, it gives you the option insert before waypoint, so you have to choose which waypoint to insert it before. So we'll insert it before LINS. That's Campo di Volo Châtelaire. My Italian's not very good, unfortunately. Right, so we'll go back to the main flight display and have a look at our flight plan and see what's happened. Okay, and there you go. And you can see it reflects that on the screen. Okay, and if you actually click on the touch screen, you can actually scroll the flight plan down. Okay, and so we can add en route waypoint from here, and we want to add Tercy, which is our next fix. So Tango Echo Romeo Sierra India, click enter, and you can see there it's found duplicates. Now obviously this one is only 5 nautical miles away and it's pointing in the right direction, so this is the Tercy that we are after. Okay, so we select that, and there you can see we have created a simple flight plan. Alright, and it gives you the heading, how far it is, heading and direction, which is all pretty neat and handy. Good. Okay, now one thing to say is that when you create a flight plan on your TBM in the G3000, it actually is at the same time being created in the flight planner on MSFS. Okay, and I discovered that by accident just yesterday. Okay, so yeah, it's really pretty handy, so you can actually save it in the flight planner, so that's pretty neat. All right, and so that is your flight planner. Okay, and you can do a direct to from here, so you can do just click on that. Let's just say we want to go direct to Tercy. Okay, it's pretty standard stuff really, and that's that Tercy. Activate, and there you have a direct to Tercy, and then you can take up the flight plan from there to the airport. Okay, so just moving back to our MFD. Now we've covered Direct to, yes, we've done that, and flight plan and procedure as well. Now this is really neat because this actually does have in its database all the procedures, well most of them. At this airport, it's only a small hilly mountain range valley airport, so it's not going to have a lot of departures. You can see it doesn't have any here. Departure, transition, runway, so it's got nothing here. If it did have something, it would list it, and you can actually then select it and actually load it here or remove it. Okay, and it actually tells you the sequence. Alright, so that's pretty neat. Maybe I should have gone to another aircraft to demonstrate this, but you know, I think you're pretty familiar with procedures and things like that, you know, so you'll just see it here. So at least you know where to find it on this screen. Okay, and the same with the arrival as well. Same thing, and you can get your arrival approach or from here as well. Okay, same thing with approach, then activate. Okay, so just moving back. So speed bugs, well, that's another shortcut to the speed bugs. Already looked at that. Waypoint info, okay, airport. You can also select other airports as well. Waypoint options. Alright, that doesn't seem to do anything. So you have frequencies here, which is, oh actually let's select the airport first of all. So let's select Lima India November Sierra. So Lima India November Sierra. No, let's go back and type it in correctly. India November Sierra, and select enter, and you can see the airport name there. Let's see if the waypoint options work. Yes, it does. Okay, show on a map, and it just centers it for you, and you have usual insert in flight plan and direct there. Okay, now we have info, and we have the bearing, distance, GPS coordinates. No elevation and time there, but we do actually have the elevation in the flight planner. Frequencies, okay. Runways, you have the runway headings there, and concrete, unknown, you have the distance of the runway, so on and so forth. Okay, it might be good actually just going back to the current airport. So let's go back to Lima India Mike Whiskey and select enter, select frequencies. So there we are. We have the frequency, aerodrome info, and I suppose that would be ATIS maybe if it's here, and another one as well, and also your ILS frequency. Okay, so 10975, so you would click that, and once again you can actually put it into the active there, and there it would appear out there. Okay, and your ILS or your glide slope is a separate tape which would appear on your main flight display, so that would actually appear along here. Okay, so now moving back. Okay, so that's your waypoint info. Alright, that's pretty handy there to have. And also just going back, we have, I think we've touched on it already, our nearest. So this is also neat as well. If you're flying, you want to know the nearest airport, and you can just scroll down with the mouse, and you've got quite a lot of information actually. And you have the option, as you know, you can put it straight into the flight plan as and when you want. And you also have the altitudes as well. landing elevation as well of the airports. Okay, and whichever of the frequencies here you choose. Okay, so lots of information on this aircraft on hand, and that is really excellent. All right, so moving to the Navcon button. Now, we've already looked at this in very briefly, but we'll just go over it a bit more. So we have COM1 and COM2, and obviously just type in, say, 122.65, and then you can select it. You can make it the active frequency just by clicking on this arrow here, and that puts it into the active frequency box. Or you can select transfer down here, okay, or you can select the button here to hold. And so this really is by far the quickest. Okay, just put your mouse up there and click either of them, and you can do the same thing for here as well. Okay, but you have to tap on it to actually make it active. Okay, right, so now moving on to the transponder ident and your altitude. Now, those of us who fly on Vatsim, you may remember that mode C or mode Charlie is needed for when you take off, so that the ATC can get altitude information from you, etc. So you would actually turn this on and select altitude reporting. Okay, or you can have it on standby. This actually is not functioning with the software called vPilot at the moment. So if you are on Vatsim, you'd have to actually put that in the Vatsim client yourself. Okay, so you can adjust this by clicking on that and then adjusting the frequency there. Okay, so now moving on to these two, mic and mon. Well, it's I've only just discovered actually, because I didn't know what that was for, because you click on that and then it just changes. Okay, but why I discovered that it was for, it's to do with obviously your frequency. So if I move this across here, now if I was to let's have a look, select this. So let's tune traffic. Okay, so we've got a list of options here on the ATC, and if we was to select this here, it goes off. It goes to, see, it's got COM2. All right, so let's actually zoom in a bit on this. All right, so you can see now it's on COM1, and there it's on COM2, and this one as well. Okay, so that's what it's for. As far as its use is concerned, I don't know. I think we'll just probably leave it on one of them, and yeah, and keep it that way. So well, it's a feature, it's a function, and it's working, I suppose. All right, so now, oops, let's zoom in a bit more. Okay, so what have we covered? We covered this. We know how to change the frequencies. Yeah, we've done that. Okay, so that's all covered. And Pfd, we've covered this. Okay, nothing I've forgotten there. Main flight display and Navcon. All right, and you know about the range button and also the mouse pad there. Okay, so that is pretty much wraps it up for our look into the Pfd, the Garmin G3000. Just to point out that you have your, when you do set up your flight plan, that we did set up a brief flight plan, you have the information on the top here, okay, and you have to select the FMS, and traditionally you'll see that the FMS is in magenta. It says FMS and en route there, and then you have your course heading and next waypoint there, and you also have the information there magenta on top. You also have it here as well, so no shortage of information there for your flight plan. Okay, so this G3000 really is just a shadow of what the real one can do. It really doesn't even scratch the surface really, but I think we're fortunate to have this here, to be honest with you, on this aircraft, the TBM 930, which is a very, very popular aircraft for a lot of flight simmers who are using MSFS. Okay, so that is about it. I'm just having a look now at the screen just to make sure I've covered everything I want to cover, and I can't see anything else. So yeah, so with that we'll just wrap the video up, and just to say thank you very much for watching, and please do see my other videos. I'll put a link or a card up on the video. I have done a flight in this TBM 930, and also if you want to set up your throttles to work with, say, your Cytec controller, please do click on the card above, and that will take you to the video which actually shows you how to set up your Cytec throttle with the controller here. Okay, so there we go. Alright, good. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope that this video has benefited you in some way. Please, if you do like the video, please do click the like button, also the subscribe button as well, and don't forget that notification bell so you can be informed of more videos as and when they are uploaded. I do try to upload once a week, if at all possible. Okay, so I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.